On a cold February morning in 2025, a quiet yet monumental flash appeared across news screens. Apple, the tech giant celebrated for its commitment to user privacy, had made a weighty announcement. As of today, its advanced data protection feature, a system providing end-to-end encryption for iCloud data, would no longer be available to customers in the United Kingdom. The reason? Pressure from the UK government. This wasn't just tech news. It was a shift in the battle over privacy in the digital age. But what exactly does this mean? And why does it matter, not just in the UK, but perhaps for all of us? Let's break it down. Advanced Data Protection, or ADP, has been one of Apple's hallmark features, designed to provide end-to-end encryption for users' iCloud data. With this feature enabled, only you, the user, hold the key to decrypt your data. Even Apple, the creators of the system, could not access your messages, your photos, or your most sensitive files stored on their servers. Simply put, advanced data protection was Apple's silver bullet for cybersecurity in a time of rampant hacking, cyber attacks, and mass surveillance. But not everyone saw it as a celebration of progress. For the UK government, ADP represented a growing problem. Officials pointed to national security and law enforcement concerns, arguing that end-to-end encryption posed what they referred to as an insurmountable barrier. In their view, it allowed dangerous elements, terrorists, criminals, predators, to hide their activity behind an unbreakable digital shield, beyond the reach of even legitimate investigations. So under mounting political pressure, Apple made a choice. It was not a begrudging compromise. It was a door slammed shut on their own initiative to protect users' privacy. The company issued a statement expressing disappointment over the decision, citing the rising dangers of data breaches and the need for strong safeguards against increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks. But the UK government was resolute in its stance. According to officials, no company should be above the law when matters of public safety are at stake. For users in the United Kingdom, this announcement hit hard. It wasn't as though they'd wake up tomorrow and see their iCloud accounts hacked or their private photos leaked. But for many, the move felt symbolic, an erosion of their personal sovereignty over their digital lives, a quiet victory for surveillance over privacy. And the ripple effects of this decision? They go far beyond the borders of the UK. You see, Apple is known for standing its ground on privacy. Remember their battle with the FBI back in 2016? When the US government demanded Apple unlock an iPhone tied to a terrorist attack, the company refused, maintaining that creating a so-called backdoor into the phone would compromise their security for everyone. Apple stood defiant then, arguing that once you breach a secure system for one purpose, no matter how well-intentioned, you've cracked the foundation for every user. Global tech leaders rallied to Apple's support during that episode, seeing it as a keystone moment in the fight for digital privacy. Governments, however, saw something else in this steadfast refusal. They saw a growing resistance, a private company placing individual freedoms ahead of institutional authority. And as encryption technology advanced in the years since, so did government anxiety. The UK's Online Safety Act, passed in 2023, was the turning point. Designed to make the internet safer, the Act empowered regulators to demand backdoor access to encrypted messages or services. The British government framed it as an essential tool. How better to combat child exploitation, terrorism, and illicit trade? Yet critics ask the hard question, can you truly guarantee privacy for most while reserving the right to spy whenever deemed necessary? The Act may have sounded reasonable to some, but privacy advocates saw an enormous red flag. And so, here we are, in 2025, with Apple withdrawing its encryption defense for UK customers. For many, this is more than a loss. It's a precedent. Because here's the thing about encryption that policymakers often overlook. It's binary. Either data is fully secure or it isn't. Once you create a special access, even in the name of law enforcement, that access becomes an entry point for potential abuse by hackers, by rogue employees, or even by other governments with their own agendas. Apple's withdrawal of the advanced data protection feature doesn't merely affect UK users worried about prying eyes, it sends a cautious signal to other nations. If the United Kingdom can compel Apple to weaken its encryption stance, who's next? Larger nations like India or Brazil where governments have already expressed unease about encrypted tools. Or global powers like China, whose surveillance ambitions have often been at odds with tech companies. But philosophical debates aside, let's talk about the practical impact of Apple's decision for everyday users. For starters, the absence of full end-to-end encryption means that iCloud data is no longer fully protected against breaches. And breaches aren't theoretical. Millions of user accounts are compromised every year globally. Without ADP, UK users must contend with the reality that their personal data, photos, financial documents, diary entries, can theoretically be accessed by hackers or scrutinized by parties they've never consented to. Second, the loss of ADP marks a chilling precedent for how much influence governments can exert over tech giants. Apple has long branded itself as the company for people valuing security and privacy. That branding took a hit today. If Apple, a $3 trillion behemoth in the tech landscape, cannot withstand the pressure of a single country, where does that leave smaller players fighting for encryption? Please adapt this chapter as is. And finally, there's the human side of this story. For many onlookers, this isn't just about code and policies, it's about trust. Trust in devices we carry every hour of every day. Trust in tech promises. Trust that digital freedom still means something in an age where governments seem increasingly eager to monitor, measure, and control. Today, encryption feels like a litmus test for the future. Please adapt this chapter as is. Apple's UK decision is a stark reminder of how complicated this fight has become, balancing privacy on one side and public safety on the other. The truth, as usual, is messy. Governments need tools to prevent horrible acts, but at what cost? Can privacy, once yielded to that argument, ever be reclaimed? It's not an easy question, nor is it confined to Britain or Apple. The stakes of this moment echo in Silicon Valley, in global legislative courts, in your local cafe where someone uses their phone without a second thought. It prompts all of us to ask, how much control do we really have over our digital lives? For Apple, the removal of advanced data protection in one region may prove to be a temporary adjustment. For the rest of us, it's a glimpse at a power struggle defining the age of information. And as each day brings new developments in this battle between privacy and surveillance, one thing is clear: your data is no longer just your data. The question we're left with is simple yet terrifyingly complex. How much of our privacy are we willing to trade away, and how soon will we regret it?